talking about a year. Torkonu. A year, Madam Torkonu, I am every a year the Supreme Court of Ghana because of a year misbehavior, corruption issues, and in Yomebia. Na enisa oya waye. Now yate Afenyo Markin oye Torkonu adam for pa. It is so interesting, and you see, in some say no, we shouldn't joke with it. Sycophancy, hypocrisy. In Kofua, omo hypocrite, omo kanokre no, omo say mine. Nipa on kanokrebia or dangerous. And this is the way so MPP near on kanokra. Now we share one MPP on kanokra. In fact, chechere MPP ni bodium because we want no better than MPP on kanokre. And a typical example of a liar, a politician who is a liar, a sycophant and a hypocrite is this guy Akakaru right it ho. Your friend Afenyo Markin, aka Kasungu, aka content creator. This guy has no respect for Ghanaians. This guy has nothing, your friend says, self-respect. Now, Madam Torkonu, ever seen nobody in Ghana or say he or she does not agree with the decision of Madam Torkonu being sacked as the Chief Justice of Ghana and also being sacked as a judge in Ghana. No? None of these people have been able to produce one document, one document, a year. I just want to say they've not been able to provide one constitutional statement, anything that proves to say a quine Madam Torkonu constitution didn't fast no sa kwan enye kwan pa. The argument has always been about moral argument. And the Madam Torkonu issue, a free Supreme Court, it is not moral argument. We are talking about constitution and how the constitution was applied. So making a moral argument about Madam Torkonu being sacked, or losing her job, it does not justify say Madam Torkonu should not be sacked. Morally, you can decide to think the way you want to think, but until you are able to prove with evidence and facts to debunk or try to prove or disprove the constitution, say, senior constitution, yeah, apply, no, it's wrong, then you cannot. Until you are able to do that, you cannot sit anywhere else and tell Ghana for say, Madam Torkonu na ye no, Sebio, Ghana, ye boom raso, a Ghana constitution and a two Torkonu. It wasn't an individual. Article 1469, and then a share Ghana for a share leader of the Republic, John Mahama, to do what he had to do. Because John Mahama ain't here Article 1469 and Kasa Constitution between to John Mahama free so. So John Mahama is just a tool in the hand of the Constitution. John Mahama is a tool. He is a pen in the hand of the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. At this point, what the NPP seek to do now is to politicize Torkonu's sack by the Constitution. It is the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and the Pam Torkonu. Now, it's so interesting. This Afenyo Markin, not Owukrumha. Now, we are going to discredit. We don't have time for banter. We will discredit with facts. Afenyo Markin, in 2017, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo about power. When Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Charlotte Osei a free electoral commission, that was the first time in the history of the Republic of Ghana Charlotte and EC boss president go through a process to sack her. A lot of people raised issues about how Charlotte Osei was treated and how she was not given the hearing ear, how Charlotte Osei was not given any room. Charlotte Osei and her two deputies. Even with that, people raising concerns, still Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo went ahead to make sure say Charlotte Osei constitution na da ho no. Sa constitution no any Charlotte Osei and the deputies edi. Afenyo Markin went to sit on TV and he defended Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's action. He defended the 1992 constitution because Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his government then based their actions on the 1992 Constitution, Article 1469, to make sure Charlotte Osei is kicked out of power. And today, when you hear this content creator, this political liar, sit anywhere else to tell you, so, oh, we will deal with it at the right time, CJ's removal. There's nothing to deal with. Let's go and listen to Afenyo Markin, the hypocrisy and the lies. You cannot trust these NPP people. This is how Afenyo Markin defended the NPP when they came into power in 2017, how they used the Constitution to get rid of Charlotte Osei. Yenti Afenyo Markin.
Yes. You see, Angry Kwekubako was very candid. See, the president knows the politics of this country. So he was very specific, made reference to the petition, unsigned petition, the subsequent communication he received from the council, and all that. So he left it as it was, which is fundamentally different from what my respected colleague was trying to put out.
In other words, the president made the Chief Justice aware of the deficiencies that may be in the original.
He left it as it.
He didn't just send it. He wrote
of course,
pay attention that these other issues. And I'll leave it to your judgment.
Exactly. You see, we are talking about developing institutions. And if each time institutions try to assert themselves, we turn around to bastardize them, then I'm afraid we're not going to get anywhere. Is it the president who has removed Charlotte Osei? Or it's an institution that has done its work in accord with law and has thus made a recommendation for her exit? The NDC may not be happy because they appointed the woman to head NCC. They tried to push her to the Supreme Court. The Judicial Council did not agree. She was rejected, and eventually she was sent to the Electoral Commission. The MPP as a party opposed the procedure for the appointment of the EC chair, and I led the charge. Eventually in court, my client was Richard Sky. It was not Charlotte Osei. They shouldn't get it wrong. The MPP opposed the procedure. However, we looked after if the eventual appointment and the decision by the Supreme Court endorsing the procedure and all that. You remember I even raised the issue of contempt, that while the matter was yet to be tried, Mr. President had gone ahead to appoint and order, and I felt that it was not appropriate. But look, it didn't get anywhere. So when Charlotte was appointed, as a party, we had issues with her background. And we did not hide from that. Yeah. But it was not an NDC, MPP person. It was not Kennedy Japan. It was not Gabios Asardako who petitioned the president for the removal. Get it straight.
What's your Afenyo Markin? Charlotte Osei, the time no, Akufo the bar office na, ye den, yi Charlotte Osei no, or say, one, and your president in the yi Charlotte Osei. Na a constitution no any yi Charlotte Osei. That was his statement. Or say petition na, troy na, jina so, edipam Charlotte Osei as the EC boss no, and ya gabi ochedako na troye. And you be dear to a troye, and you will be a troye. And also, Sakasa or say, every time be a person you develop institutions, you know, they will try to find a way to go after the institutions. You know what he was trying to say? He was trying to say, a buying, a take a decision to make sure, say, institution be being considered. Now say the right thing should be done. Now you're near Ghana for your cassette decision now a buying a take. Say, presidency, a receive petition, now or acting on the petition. Now you're Ghana for we are fighting the presidency. This is the defense. Afenyo Markin Etna TV so catch the Ghana for when Akufo in 2017, it decided say it was say Charlotte Osei or permanent every EC office. He made his point. In fact, I see at a point, you know, Charlotte Osei the positions ni binana de man na no omo MP before tiase no. Oma the last guy, sa the last guy ya kwasi campaign the last guy. The last guy ya Afenyo Markin ene Gabi Ochedako de ko school e UK. Sa kwasi the last guy ya Nan saying Afenyo Markin yenya issue ewo parliament or the case in the court no LGBT anti-LGBT case no Afenyo Markin man the court the same the last guy. Enti unim, this is what they have been doing for years. But what I want you to understand and say, he made it clear, say, constitution no, constitution no, and then ye shall to say free ho. Na enye nanado dankwa Akufo-Addo. That was the same thing when Akufo-Addo put his presidency on the line. These are the same people today. They are fighting Ghanaians. Adentina, Madame Charlotte, Madame Torkonu. Also for the same process. They have a problem. Adentina Ghana for year penny. Why are we allowing it? It is political. We need to create a new law to protect some people at some very important places. This is the same Afenyo Markin. Otna news for Ghana for say. It is not the president who sacked Charlotte. It was the 146 article 146.9. And non a sack Charlotte to say. Into why are we saying say Akufo-Addo in the Pamo Charlotte to say? John Dramani Mahama allowed the 146.9, the same 146.9, our constitution no, to go through. The due process was adhered to. But also, and then, because you have 4-way MPP 4-way opportunity. No man catch Ghana for say John Mahama Pamo Torkonu. But when they were sacking Charlotte say using the same procedure, the same due process, the same 1992 constitution, the same 146.9, they said Nana the Danko Akufo-Addo did not sack Charlotte say. Now in fact, a constitution and a sacking Charlotte say. Kwasi we ba betina TV so ochina. Obebo tai fibi abeka catch Ghana for say or a minority leader onimunyansa chen. This is a filthy liar. The law is the law. And this is something they have been doing for years. When we said Torkonu we start here, the NPP deliberately decided to politicize it. But to date, they have not been able to state one article that the due process, and I say the constitutional president will be a breaking any law when it comes to the process now. Torkonu they have not been able to cite one infraction. They have not been able to cite one infraction. They have not to say Samra way the president buso, Samra way the nipa way buso, entina Madame no sake no, it is not right. They have not been able to do that. The same procedure, the same due process, Akufo-Addo, Ede Charlotte say femu no, the same due process, and na Torkonu femu, and so almost say Akufo-Addo the end na a constitution the pamon Charlotte say, but Torkonu the end Mahama na nimu Harry. Odena yeteni enti yamfansha Mahama enkwasiafo mawe enende omudi MPP nenim. They have no principle. They are not people you can trust. They don't have the intelligence to be honest. They see every single Ghanaian and say Jimmy. Until every time when they get the opportunity, they just want to lie and think say we will absorb it and just follow them like sheep. So what is credible about this guy? What is credible about this guy that Ghana ni awokosko oniminyansa onkosko kro oniminyansa Ghana ni otoaba? Why should any Ghanaian oniminyansa listen to this idiot? Because they are the same thing, but he's trying to justify one and trying to make one somebody's intentions. He's justifying one. But when it comes to Akufo-Addo's decision he took, it wasn't Akufo-Addo's fault. It was the constitution. But when it comes to John Mahama's situation, when the John Mahama allowed the due process, John Mahama allowed the constitution to work, it is not the constitution, it is John Mahama. This is the kind of dirty politics and kwasiafo way ya. Enti every day biano, their numbers keep dropping. And Messi Megu party no 2028 Megu no. Because of these fools. Because of kwasiafo way, onyankopon wasoro ode nyansa aduame mitirimu no Megu party no Megu no flat. Because me who say continuously, no, these people, the sense of entitlement and foolishness, no, now let me show you one sad thing happening in Ghana, and it's got to do with Madam Sophia Akufo, the former Chief Justice of Ghana. Madam Sophia Akufo also is on a journey, and the journey she's on are two destinations. One is to please her NPP that appointed her and made her a Chief Justice. And two, to try and discredit the same Council of State she is a member of, indirectly trying to embarrass the government. This old lady is on a journey to blow herself up. I respect her a lot. The capacity and position I was feeling. Every time you are interested to hear what she has to say. Because at a point, this woman was in charge of all the laws about Ekuru. She was the headquarters of law. She led the judiciary. She was seen as somebody who would take her time, reason, go through the basic thinking process before she makes a submission or speaks. But interestingly enough, Madam Sophia Akufo, she has decided to go on a trip. She believes that trip, the fallout she had with the MPP, it is going to incite or it is going to bring back that sympathy the NPP they have for her. And I say that fallout she had with the MPP, time and DDEP issued by now or Kasatia on one and call she now feels she needs to be accepted again because party nigu and she wants to be on their good side. The second part of her journey is to discredit the Council of State positioner or Timuno. She wants to discredit the Council of State, which indirectly she wants to use that to discredit the presidency. And I see that as a very sad situation. Because Madam Sophia Akufo is a very intelligent woman. The only thing about this woman or Madam Akufo is that the sense of entitlement, she feels this sense of entitlement. Our idea be say she is intelligent than anybody in Ghana. She's full of herself, with all due respect. She believes say asamoba na okebia obia submission bi obekebia no sa nipa no ejimi. She is the only intelligent person. Even when she's part of a decision making, what she tries to do is say she sometimes steps away from the group she's part of and make it look like say every single person in the group she's part of is stupid. She's the only wise one. And that is my biggest problem with Madam Sophia Akufo. Madam Sophia Akufo has served in a very good capacity as the former Chief Justice. And I don't expect Madam Sophia Akufo to be speaking only on emotions or speaking based on what we call her feelings about something. I expect to say, from what she has been through, her experience as a former Chief Justice, she wouldn't speak based on emotions, but she will speak on facts. She will speak to debunk facts. She will speak to make her case using the facts to prove to Yenny Ghana for say she is not just an ordinary state person or state woman. She is a state woman with enormous intelligence, experience when it comes to addressing fundamental laws. And I say the Constitution and how we are supposed to approach its discussion. But it is looking like say Madam Sophia Akufo has thrown away all the experience, all the knowledge she picked as a former Chief Justice. She has dumped that somewhere and she's going on this very slippery route. It is all about how she feels, her feelings, how she knows somebody, but she has forgotten to analyze the issues based on facts. Since Madam Sophia Akufo started speaking on Torkonu's dismissal and sack from the judiciary, she has not stated any facts. Emma Nasam looking unique and different from the ordinary Ghanaian on the streets. Sometimes when she speaks and you listen, you ask yourself, say, does she even have any law background? Has she learned the law? Does she understand that before you speak against the Constitution, before you disagree with the laws or due process, you need to have a counterfactual argument to prove, say, your case you are making, that is the reason why you do not agree to a specific decision that has been taken. And recently, since Madam Torkonu was sacked, I have seen that this woman has dropped from where she used to be, how we used to see her, the respect people like us used to give her, because at a point, she sat on TV and told some people that they have pin brain. But some of her utterances, her submissions on the sack of Torkonu, it is looking more like she is basically putting herself in the pin brain family. With all due respect, I respect this woman a lot. Now, these are some of the things she said about the Madam Torkonu issue, sacking her as the Chief Justice and also as a judge in Ghana. These are some of her statements. Or say, they or the allegations contained in petition lack the gravity that will lead to a grave outcome, such as the removal of the head of an institution of justice. Now, if you say the allegations contained in the petition, now, Madam Torkonu was given every room to defend herself. In fact, the president, when he received the petition, he actually gave Madam Torkonu 10 days, even though now Madam Torkonu asked for just 7 days. Madam Torkonu was given the room to look at the petition, the allegations in the petition. And you as a judge, you know, when people enter your courtroom, there is a reason why you give them the room to go for a lawyer, to express themselves, defend themselves with the facts, to prove their innocence. The process gave Torkonu all the room to prove her innocence. That is why Torkonu went for a lawyer. In fact, she went for 2 MPP lawyers. That is why the president gave Torkonu enough time to study the allegations in the petition. So you cannot just say that the petition, what are the allegations that were contained in the petition, they lack gravity. On what basis are you able to prove that they lack gravity? Were you, or do you have any counter facts to prove that the allegations that were contained in the petition lacked gravity? It is upon Torkonu and her lawyers to prove to the committee that the allegations lacked it, unless you have other ideas. Unless you don't want to respect due process, unless you are being mischievous as a former Chief Justice who understands how the law works and how people are given the room to defend themselves. And when I heard her speak like this, I felt so bad. I felt like the woman that I respect is forcing herself to be part of the pin brain people that she has been referring to. Because if I make such statement, I have to make it. You can sit anywhere else and say, this guy, he does not have the know-how. He does not have the expertise. He does not have any knowledge about law. He has not been a lawyer before. He's not a judge. He has never sat in any high-profile case. So we can give it to him. But you, when you make such vague a statement without proving that the allegations in the petition, the gravity lacked what you say, it lacked that gravity. It means you are speaking out of emotions. You are making a moral argument. You are not making a factual argument. And moral argument can be made by anyone. But factual argument, it's always made by people who are intelligent enough to separate Gary from rice. So, but you as a person, I respect you, especially with the baggage you carry as an ex-Chief Justice and a legal professional, somebody who knows the law. Now, Osaka Sembi, Momianko tie in Sembia or Kafa a yet Torkonu asem no ho. We are not sure why this woman is forcing herself to be grouped or to be added to the pin brain people she has been referring to.
I'm very sad about it. It has really saddened me. And maybe in a way, I feel very distressed by it. Yes.
Mm. In terms of the conclusion that was reached, where the matter has journeyed from, is the sadness as a result of the conclusion, or you have questions about the procedure that took place before that?
The sadness is about the whole process. My sadness is because as far as I'm concerned, it was a very unnecessary. We have been taken through a very unnecessary situation, and which, as far as I'm concerned, and that is my honest and candid view, this has so weakened the institution of the judiciary. It's not so much the individual who occupies their position. It is the institution. That is what I'm concerned about.
I mean, what informs the conclusion that it's an unnecessary process? I mean, we have heard even government spokesperson make the point that a petition was sent, a committee in line with the constitution was set up, they've looked into the matter and they've come to a conclusion. Which aspect of it, what specifically makes that necessary?
I think that, you see, there has always been something wrong with Article 146, and particularly with the procedure that it sets out, and especially as it regards the position of the Chief Justice. In the GHRUM case, I took the opportunity to reflect on that weakness that I noticed, and are these and these are not so, to me, they lack the gravity. They lack the gravity that would lead to a grave outcome, such as the removal of the head of an institution of justice. I've deliberately phrased myself that way. It trivializes the what this is going to lead to further on along the line, because every judge is fair game and every Chief Justice is also fair game.
I mean, is that to suggest that you suspect there could be a ripple effect in that?
Oh, definitely.
Any matter,
it's not suspect. I foresee, not tomorrow, maybe not next year, maybe not in 5 years' time, but along the line, yes, unless those provisions are dealt with effectively in a revised constitution.
Maybe a more direct question. I have seen the letter that was written by the Secretary to the President to the former Chief Justice.
And that's the other thing. A warrant, a person holding a presidential warrant, that's what the position is. It's you become Chief Justice because you have received a presidential warrant. You can receive all kinds of letters that you are hereby appointed, but if you don't have that warrant, does that make you Chief Justice? Yeah, okay. So if you're removing the person from the position, is it a subordinate who signs the letter? Is that the way it's supposed to be done? That's just by the way. Food for thought.
Yeah, but I've seen a warrant as well signed by His Excellency the President.
So why are they showing us that one? I've been receiving all kinds of messages, and every one of them is only bringing out that letter. And in any case, is it polite? Is it proper that it should be a subordinate who writes a letter of removal to a Chief Justice? Really?
So, it's more of a moral argument than a factual one, not based on any fact. In someone I'll say, oh, Yabusana say, do you have a problem with the procedure? Meaning the due process. She didn't really want to answer. Also, the whole thing has been an unnecessary situation. Later, also, the provisions, she has some problem with it. But as a former Chief Justice, she could not state one thing that she has a problem with. She vaguely threw it out there. Because you as Madam Sophia Akufo, I cannot just come and say, I have a question with you being appointed by Akufo-Addo as the Chief Justice. I need to prove beyond that for people to understand that I'm making a valid argument. It could be that I don't like you because of your name. It could be that because you have Akufo in your name, it's making me think that you are a relative to Akufo-Addo. But I cannot just come and say, Madam Sophia, I don't know why they made you the Chief Justice. I need to prove. So if you, as a former Chief Justice, you have an issue with even the procedure or the due process that was put together for Torkonu to go through, you should have at least stated one infraction, something that is against that process that you are calling unnecessary situation, for people like us to understand where you are coming from. Because now you are speaking like anybody on the streets. In fact, if somebody comes and hears you speak on TV and does not know who you are or is not a Ghanaian, they will not even have an idea that you have any legal background. They will think that somebody just went to bring their mother to come and sit on TV to speak. Because you are not making any argument from the statement you're making to prove that you have, with all due respect, the experience and with all due respect, the intelligence to make a case than the ordinary person walking on the street. Because just saying that the whole procedure or process was an unnecessary situation does not justify that the process was supposed to be done. If you want to prove to us that you are better, you have the experience, and that what you are making, the statements you are making, are not basically based on moral and basically based on speculation, you are supposed to go further than what than the argument Chairman Wontumi will make. Because the argument you are making is like Chairman Wontumi sitting on any radio stations to speak on the Torkonu matter. With all due respect to you, madam. With all due respect. Or see, there's always been a problem with Article 146. Or see, that article now, John Mahama, any president to be able to say Akufo-Addo ejina so and making sure the due process has been dealt has happened. Or see, she has always had a problem with the Article 146. We never knew she had a problem. She was Chief Justice for over 8 years or 8 years. She was just Chief Justice, I don't know the number of years, but it wasn't 8 years. She never spoke on Article 146, even when she was Chief Justice. When she was Chief Justice, she also received the same petition, but she never had an issue with Article 146 until today. Her party, her brother Akufo-Addo, and her friend Torkonu also had to go through the same process. So suddenly, she has always had a problem with the same Article 146 that she applied when she was Chief Justice. Into one baby Ofriba, she is picking and choosing. This is a woman I respect a lot. Dear, why you are caught in me? But at least she needs to prove beyond the say, you are a former Chief Justice, you are a luminary, you are an intelligent person when it comes to the law. You cannot speak vaguely, because people like us are waiting for people like you with experience in the law to make a point that we can say, yes, she based her argument on this fact. But you are basically speaking like a normal housewife who is relaxed at home and just telling us about what happened in the market. You are not basically distinguishing yourself from normal people on the street and a former Chief Justice and a judge of the Supreme Court. Now, you being a Chief Justice for 3 years, we handing over the judiciary to you for 3 years, it wasn't an easy thing. Now, how can you just sit on TV and make due process, constitution, yejina so take a decision how can you just sit on TV to make it look like say the course illegal? Now she went on to say this. She is saying we should revise the constitution. The constitution reform team or revised committee, it is there. You have all the right to go to that committee and present, because you, being a former Chief Justice, I think they will listen to you than me. So if you have a problem with 146, if you have a problem with some things in the constitution, You cannot sit at home and put on makeup and make it look like it's not something that concerns you. You have every right to put those concerns together to give to the Constitutional Review Committee for them to look at it, because you are a former Chief Justice. You don't put on scarf, shine your face, wear glasses, and polish your grammar like we can't speak English. You can equally write your own piece and take it to where? Take it to the Constitutional Review Committee. You cannot just sit there and speak like a laywoman. With all due respect to you, you cannot bring down the level you have been so low that when you speak, we don't see any signs of somebody who has legal intelligence. With all due respect to you, madam. So sometimes when we listen to you, after listening to you today, I was shocked because your argument was all pushing you into the bracket of the pin brain people. Because the pin brain people, when they make arguments, they don't have any facts to base their arguments on. And that is what you have done today. You are forcing yourself to fall into the bracket of the pin brain people. You have always been telling us that they are not smart enough to make a case, to be coherent, and to make intelligent submissions on national issues. You see, so a judge just sent me this. Former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo's comment on the removal of former CJ Gertrude Torkonu is highly casuistic. The judges even have a problem with your submission on this matter, especially when you are a member of the Council of State that basically also received the petition and gave it a green light. So you are becoming a sycophant, with all due respect, madam. Now, let us know who Sophia Akufo is. Is she a sycophant? Is she somebody we can basically sit back and say, you are a hypocrite. You are not being realistic and honest with Ghanaians. You are playing with the emotional part of the issue instead of you being factual and basing your arguments on evidence and facts. What she is trying to do and what we saw is that she's not being factual. She's being emotional. She's trying to make a moral argument instead of a factual argument. And anybody on the streets of Ghana, including Chema Wuntumi and Abronye, can make moral argument, emotional argument. And not anybody can make factual arguments. And you, as a former Chief Justice, when you get the opportunity to speak, you need to force us to understand that you are smarter than Chema Wuntumi. You are smarter than Abronye. You have been in that position before. You know the law. You are above majority of us. But when you make these baseless, fake, these weak arguments, it makes it difficult for us to see you the way we see you now. That's why I'm saying that I don't want to group you in that bracket of pin brain old women, because pin brain people are not able to base their arguments on facts. Now, let's go into calculation a little bit. When we go back into history, this woman called Madam Sophia Akufo, she was the Chief Justice for 3 years. Now, this is something that we need to go back and analyze. When Charlotte Osei, people petitioned the president to say, Yenyi Charlotte Osei, Madam Sophia Akufo had been appointed about 6 months. And when Madam Sophia Akufo was appointed as the Chief Justice, within that 6 months, Grandpa Anson Obedi Bear 6 months, 8 months, she initiated the sacking of Charlotte Osei, and she initiated it and based everything on Article 146 that she is trying to tell us she has always had a problem with. The same Article 1469 that she's always had a problem with. It has been the same Article 419, or it was the same Article 419, or it is the same Article 419 she based on to make sure Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies were sacked from the Electoral Commission. We are trying to let people understand, say, you're disrespecting penny for. But you're penny for ni we need to correct them before they die. Because on say, we are maybe a do point to be now when you now refuse home, now say correct wa. What they say at Trono and say your money to be womb. And that is what we are trying to prevent. Now, avoid contempt against committee probing EC officials. CJ warns, when Charlotte Osei assembly by Madam Sophia Akufo extra letter the Ghana for say, Mema Obian Kasem no asem kura media so. So unim now kwatena TV so now we discuss it. A petition na ye di abre president ye di abre na you are what court mraso contempt of court at you. She basically wrote a statement and put it out. That is autocracy. Oka obia kasabua shen yem. This is Sophia Akufo. Dear me born the video channel. She was the Chief Justice then. Time a petition no Nana Dankwa Akufo gave the petition to her. Nana Dankwa Akufo didn't give the petition to Charlotte Osei to study and her deputies. Like the way John Mahama gave the petition to Torkonu to study for 10 days. Nana Dankwa Akufo received a petition against Charlotte Osei and her deputies. She did not give Charlotte Osei the room to even look at what is in the petition. No. He quickly gave the petition to Sophia Akufo as the Chief Justice for the process to start working. In the time Ekodi Hono and release statement, I'm talking about Sophia Akufo. Yeah. Avoid contempt against committee probing EC officials. Time petition kodu committee enim na omu probi petition no and at CJ Emma Ghana for nyina warning. Wa we ye bema ana oba a obebusa question. Obe raise issue. Obe question system no. You what contempt at show. You bet you what. This is the same woman who today is telling us say ya boni emono enche obe wunti yentie ono ne nyansa. With all due respect. Now when you read the story, this is what it says. Let me enlarge it. The facts are there. This is City. Date Sheso December 19, 2017. Reading time 4 minutes. Read. What the 4 minutes is a kind story in a way. Inti facts in the amount. You read the story. No. The Chief Justice Sophia Akufo has formally constituted a committee to investigate the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, and her 2 deputies over corruption allegations leveled against them, with a caution to the general public to desist from making demeaning comments about their work. Mami we eti committee. Akufo had second petition no and the man as a Chief Justice then and on the Koma committee committee and on satchel letter ma Ghana for so bianca nuntum. Nobody in Ghana. This was the warning from Madam Sophia Akufo now to work as with all due respect to her. Me person who the kind of people, the pin brain people, no, and I make sure no. These are people we have to be careful about. Today, she's part of the Council of State. Now, I'll call the second paragraph. This is what it says. Already, some members of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, have started criticizing the process, accusing the government of seeking to hound the EC boss, Charlotte Osei. Into that time, now, started start here, no, and the NDC for started say, Omokasa say no. CBA process ne kone de. I say, abane faso, ekwan biso apam Charlotte. Because NDC forecast say, adenti ne kufu adon saka petition, no, one farmer Charlotte en ready. Or the Koma Chief Justice. So the NDC were making an argument to say, if the president even wants to, based on Article 1469, to make sure the due process is followed, why is he not giving Charlotte Osei the room to even look at the allegations before moving the petition to the Chief Justice? So the NDC started questioning. When a Chief Justice Ethics Committee or started warning the bread Ghana for say nobody should speak. In fact, let me read the rest of the story. When you read the rest of the story, this is what it says. Let me enlarge it. There are some people we are not supposed to take serious again in Ghana. This is the story. This is what it says. The Chief Justice, Sophia Akufo, has formally constituted a committee to investigate the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, and her 2 deputies over corruption allegations leveled against them, with a caution to the general public to desist from making demeaning comments about their work. Already, some members of the opposition National Democratic Congress have started criticizing the process, accusing the government of seeking to hound the EC boss, Charlotte Osei. The 3 officials met, listen, the 3 officials met the Chief Justice a week ago, where they were notified. This is City reporting. Charlotte Sophia Akufo, how dangerous she is as a former Chief Justice. Story say the 3 officials, meaning Charlotte Osei and the 2 deputies, the 3 officials met the Chief Justice a week ago, where they were notified that a prima facie case have been established against them. It's when Akufo-Addo received the petition. That petition Akufo-Addo received, he never said anything to Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies. All that Akufo-Addo did was that he moved the petition and gave to Sophia, who is the Chief Justice. And what Sophia did was that Sophia just called them and told them, say, I have received a petition from the president and that a prima facie case has been leveled against you. Without Charlotte Osei knowing what is in the petition. That is what Sophia Akufo did. Sophia Akufo, of Fred Charlotte, and in the 2 deputies, no more ban ho. One for petition and chromo. One chromo anything in the petition. Charlotte and her 2 deputies did not even have a clue of why they were called to the Chief Justice office. They were called as electoral commission chairperson and their deputies. The Chief Justice called them to come to her office. And when Charlotte Mudru Hono, Sophia Akufo Kachiromo say, Mensa aka petition from the president and petition in Muno, a primary facie case has been leveled against you. Intimate committee. Charlotte Osei said, we want to see the allegations in the petition. I said, no. I know Afenyo. These people, sometimes they chew their fingers, they chew their asses, and they'll come and ask us who ate their ass. This is what Akufo-Addo and this woman did. Today, this woman is telling us that we have murdered sleep. She murdered sleep in 2017. That is why she's sleeping no more. Sophia Akufo already murdered sleep. She murdered sleep when she was the Chief Justice. She murdered sleep. That is why she's not able to sleep no more, because she knew what was supposed to be done. She didn't do it. Now, who read this story? That's what it says. Now, I quote, the general public is hereby informed that her ladyship, the Chief Justice, and I'm talking about the statement she put out. And I quote, the general public is hereby informed. These are the strict statements Sophia Akufo as the Chief Justice then put out to the public. After receiving a one fan Charlotte mo. Remember, John Mahama received a petition or the Torkonu for 10 days. Torkonu asked for 7 days. John Mahama said take 10 days. Akufo received Charlotte Osei petition. He gave it to Sophia. Sophia did not show it to Charlotte Osei. Sophia went ahead to put together a committee. Sophia sat in her office and established a prima facie case against Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies. John Mahama did not sit in his office to establish that. John Mahama called the Chief Justice and said, a petition has been leveled, a petition has been brought, and it's against you. Take the petition and read and see what is in there. But Sophia and Akufo-Addo came together and decided to establish a prima facie case against Charlotte. This woman is today sitting there pretending say she never murdered sleep. Now, this is the statement she put out those times. These are disingenuous people. Let's not look at them in their slow language and low tone and think that they are some extraordinary people with some good record. Thank you very much, team. Thank you for bringing this in. Now, so after a fresh Charlotte Osei mobile office, President today, petition be abreme. Ya level some prima facie case against you people. So me ba beti committee monko eno pamo omo. Now owie no eno sachiro letter to mfre bem se ma obi anka committee na watere ho asem. The general public is hereby informed that her ladyship, the Chief Justice, Justice Sophia A.B. Akufo, in accordance with Article 146 Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution, has set up a 5-member committee to investigate allegations brought against the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, and her 2 deputies, Mr. Amadou Sile and Mrs. Georgina Apapon Amankwa. End of quote. Orieno releases statement to say, Ojina 1992 Constitution, so Article 146 now, or say she has a problem with. When Charlotte Osei's case came, she used the same article and put together a committee, a 5-member committee. It was based on the article, no, committee, Today, this woman is telling you, say, she has a problem with the same article now, and Yajina so Ediama Torkonu Ako through the process. Now, Unim say, time of fresh Charlotte Semo, Eban office. Okacha Charlotte Semo say, and Akufo the petition be breme. Now, me Chief Justice, me study petition. We have established that you people, you have committed some crime. Now, Mameka be bincho. Charlotte say, at the end of the day, on it, the deputies, they actually asked the Chief Justice. That's our two story. So, this is what Charlotte say asked. Give me a copy of my removal petition. Charlotte said to Chief Justice, Madam Sophia Akufo. Charlotte say, I want to see a copy of the allegation. Petition Ekuta wo Sophia no. Give me a copy. Let me read and see what is in the petition. Sophia Akufo said, no, fuck off. And wabodu kwa bejina TV so. We are using technology to expose these people because they have no credibility and they are the people who have destroyed this democracy. They hide behind intellectuality. They hide behind statesmanship. They hide behind age. And they lie and destroy the core principles of our democracy. Charlotte Osai pleaded with this woman, give me the petition, please. I want to see it. My deputies want to see it. The woman said no. The embattled chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osai, has called on the Chief Justice Committee probing her and her two deputies to furnish her with a copy of the petition seeking her removal. Okacha say, madam, wo any committee no, mon for petition ne mame. Na me read the womb. Sophia Akufo kaje so fa ne kwase anko. Today, Sophia Akufo gina okacha say, onim nyansa che Ghana ni bia. We should all go fuck ourselves. Oni ne nim nyansa okasa obi ankoda. Na oni bibi. Charlotte say wie no. And Charlotte say decided so obekọ Akufo ado akobu Akufo ado say, wo na won saka petition ne first. And I want to forward the come Chief Justice no. Into Chief Justice in Femia, please can you also give me the petition? As some way the Akufo the catch no. Now the danko Akufo the catch Charlotte say no petition is here. Go and search for it. Akufo the catch Charlotte say only petition bia. Charlotte say call presidency. I catch Mr. President. Una receive petition now with the Chief Justice. Mebusa Chief Justice for the petition. She is not minding me. I also want you to give me the petition. Send a beya mehu allegations. No, Akufo say I don't have any petition at the presidency. Sanko for way na ndomo kachire say they are morally, they are intelligent, morally, they have the right to speak on Ghana's issues. Sophia Akufo. Yepe Chief Justice omumra. Omunya tumi omdidi nsem hunu wo Ghana. You cannot pick Sophia Akufo out. A governor catcher Charlotte say ono ni petition bia on free onko. So in reality no Charlotte said did not see the petition. Into all committee no onim question po ayeko busa no. And remember the committee was put together by Sophia Akufo. She actually put the commission together. In fact, when you read the story, this is what the story says. Let's go to the second paragraph of the story. I mean, sure, petition, nipa okika omubomu. She was even part of the committee. In a statement signed by the Judicial Secretary, Justice Alex B. Poku Echampong, the Chief Justice said anyone who makes comment that undermine the work of the committee will be cited for contempt. Now, who can story nuko enima or say the release, which failed to indicate the names of the committee members, as well as the release. Now, my Mr. Free, in a release copied to cityfmonline.com, the Judicial Secretary said the sitting of the committee will be closed to the public. Inti omudi letter by no, omukacha Ghana for you say Sophia Akufo. What a committee, and so committee no, and ya de obiabe who committee no. Ajuma mbedi nyina no, it will be behind closed doors. And ya de obiabe nya committee no krampo, nipa omote committee no so no. Sophia Akufo did not tell Ghanaians. John Dramani Mahama, he allowed due process. We got to know who the people who were going to sit on the committee. We all know their profiles. And so Sophia Akufo ni Akufo-Addo. Sophia Akufo put together a 5-member committee. She didn't tell us their names. She didn't show Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies the petition, the allegations in it. This woman, after that, sent a statement out to warn everybody to shut up. This is an autocrat. She's a dictator. And she wants to sound like she's the most intelligent person in Ghana. Now, who read this story now? Let me show you this. The release, which failed to indicate the names of the committee members, as well as state exactly when the committee will start its work, said it will be chaired by a justice of the Supreme Court. Or really this statement to say, what a 5-member committee and omono mobabetna eye Charlotte Osei case this no wan kire obia obetna so wan bodin wan kire location but the kind say committee no nipa obeche sa committee na ombeto to Charlotte Osei mo ano no nipa owo Supreme Court Sophia Akufo. This woman is bad news. I'm not in the position to insult her when you tell me, but I'm exposing her. I'm making you know she is not somebody to be trusted. If she has a problem with the Council of State, she should resign tomorrow and stop the nonsense grammar that she's hiding behind. She belongs to the pin-brain group that lies to protect criminals. Yeah. Now, Uko Enima, and I quote, the committee, this is the letter from Chief Justice Sophia, those times, and the quote, the committee, which will sit in camera, in line with normal practice, consists of 3 justices of the Superior Court appointed by the Judicial Council and 2 other persons appointed by the Chief Justice. On the advice of the Council of State, the committee is chaired by a justice of the Supreme Court. Or say committee na oti judge for me and some Supreme Court betra so. And a nupa mienu bi otade be kan no ono Sophia no na be choose sa nipa mienu no. Because at the end of the day, no, sa nipa obe chair a committee no, a Council of State for or say and 2 other persons appointed by Chief Justice on the advice of the Council of State. Into a nipa 5 na omode omoko no 3 no ebe judges almost Supreme Court 2 na almost abe kan no a Council of State na man petitions permission say ono Chief Justice no only ni nipa mienu ope. And on one personally, Okoyi ne nanfufo mienu beka 3 judges are say omankasa the Judicial Council ne yi omo. And odi omo te committee no say omo try Charlotte Osei and then the 2 deputies. These are people who cooked their own coup and execute the coup. This is what we call the Machiavellian tactics. They go out there, they create a petition, they bring the petition to themselves, they create a committee and they cut you off. Machiavellian, no. When they had the dangerous part of our democracy, we leave too much loopholes for people like these. They destroy the principles of the democracy. They turn around to come and tell us we are stupid because they have had a problem with the constitution all along. They never had a problem with it until one of them is caught by the law. Charlotte Osei wasn't human, right? Her 2 deputies were not humans, right? Madam Torkonu was given a VIP treatment by the Constitution and the President of the Republic. When you compare what Sophia did to Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies, and you look at the due process that Torkonu went through, Torkonu was given a presidential treatment. Torkonu was given a presidential treatment. So, calculate in some huna was Sophia. When a Akufo-Addo di Ghana ha as the Chief Justice. That means John Mahama is Jesus Christ. Torkonu all the room to basically defend herself and even know what is in the petition before meeting the committee. By you, Sophia, you put together your own judges. You select your own friends. You don't even tell us when the committee is meeting, location. You don't even tell us the rules and regulations governing their job. You attempt to tell us you have a problem today. You this woman, I saw woman I would with the sense of entitlement, you know. And then I sometimes I would trim you with the Ghana ha. Bibia besu trima na okeka. The last part of the story, and I quote: It is the expectation of the Chief Justice and the Judicial Council that the public will treat the committee with the respect and dignity it deserves, as it carries out its constitutional duty and refrain from making comments that will undermine the work of the committee, since infractions may amount to contempt. End of quote. We are not catching Ghana for say, wow, be no bo MPC for no, mo biankasa, wow, bekasa mecho. This autocratic, self-centered, yet self-bragging, pin-brain, entitled human being way, and now it's not TV so catch say, we are stupid, you are smart, you have a problem with the due process. You abuse the due process, you abuse the Constitution, Sophia. Sophia Akufo, you deliberately abused it. Ekrobianka goes to jail. Yeah. If we decide to go back and follow due process, you should be rotting in jail. You, because you breached the Constitution. You abused the Constitution technically. And as we sit here, Charlotte say in any country can come back and protest that why didn't you people show her the petition, the allegations in the petition? You people have committed so much crime in Ghana, and you sit there, you want us to worship your weak asses, all because in the name of respect, you people don't respect the intelligence of the people. Into your mama's small opportunity, then you abuse the opportunity because you're Jimmy. These are the things you did. Or terminal reports na me really channel. This is what makes you a very dangerous human being. Because you see, we gave you too much power and you abused that power. We gave you too much power. So today, that's entitlement thing now a woman sono because if we kufu. Because Ojin said you can come and discredit the presidency and discredit the same Council of State that was part of this process. You technically were a sycophant that is not supposed to be part of the Council of State. Because the decision the Council of State took, you were part of that decision. So how do you turn around to come tell us, say, the issue, what you see is unnecessary situation, and that you have a problem with Article 146. The same Article 146, you and your Ekufuado manipulated to make sure the people you don't like in office, you took them out. Did you give Charlotte the room to look at the allegations? You have no right, absolutely no moral right to even sit and grant an interview about Torkonu's ejection. You have no right. You are supposed to be in jail for abusing the Constitution. You people have no respect for the Ghanaian. Every single day, you always want to feel, say, when you touch on the emotional part of issues, it makes it right. No, you having a personal relationship with Torkonu, you having a feeling or some feelings for Torkonu, you treating Torkonu as a woman, it's got nothing to do with the facts. Torkonu, from day one when this process started, has she been able to point out one infractions in the Constitution that wasn't applied well? By you deliberately denied people allegations, a petition. You set up a whole committee yourself. You put your friends on the committee. You select judges you like on the Supreme Court bench, and you sit on it to destroy somebody's career. Today, you open say to and your frow because what better TV so can kwasi abrofubi. The entitlement. Mojin sa muni munyansa chen obiya. School papa ben na makwa and the Ghana yako internet so ayenhu. A dear case law papa ben pa na moye ya. You want everybody to look like we are foolish. There's nothing extraordinary about you people. You get the opportunity. The opportunities you people got was because majority of us were daft. We could not check you people. We could not fact check you people. You people put some fear in us. You use that intellectual approach, which was full of fear, to suppress the people from knowing the truth. You have committed a lot of crimes by making sure, denying people we have elected into offices to work for us. You, Sophia. So today, we should stop everything. You are an embarrassment to Ghana. If you have a problem with Article 146, go and meet the Constitution Review Committee. Tell them what problem you have with them, with that part of the Constitution. If you have a problem, if you think you cannot work with the Council of State, get the fuck out of there and let somebody who is willing and ready to work there to be part of them. We cannot have sycophants, double-faced Jack Chance to be walking around and destroying our way to better democracy. We are not going to create any special protection for anybody in any government office. you know the rules and regulations that governs every institution that you are head of. You need to stay within the constitution, stay within your rules, and that you'll be fine. If you go above, you go beyond, if you try to abuse that office, you have to be dealt with. That is how it works everywhere in the world. Because you people are creating that impression that Torkonu flouting the law and the law dealing with her, it is the end of Ghana. Because you people are so entitled. You are part of the pin brain people. You are a sycophant who is in sheep clothing inside the Council of State, because you cannot step out of the Council of State as a team and come tell us that you disassociate yourself and this thing and this, that. So we should all stop and go pick our history books and write and take pictures of you. No. I've read your terminal report to you. You are one of the worst chief justices we have had. You are an autocrat. You are the same like Akufo-Addo. You are a dictator. The power you got for 3 years, you abused it. Tell us you didn't. You are a mole. Every day somebody is pin brain. Every day somebody is pin brain. Make your argument based on facts and stop adding emotional stuff to your argument. You are a former chief justice. You are a judge, a former judge. Speak like a former judge. Use the facts and evidence to make a statement and stop this wayside, selfish, emotional, moral argument you are making. We all have ideas to make emotional arguments. Ade, yenim se Torkonu or your bar, yenim se our family, yenim se no a lawyer. We know that, but she has committed a crime and the law has to deal with her. The nonsense must stop. We are tired of this sycophancy and fake entitlement attitude you people are putting up in Ghana. If you have a problem with the 146 in the Constitution, go to the Constitution Review Committee and tell them your problem. You should be the last person to be granting interviews in Ghana. You have committed a crime, you abused your office. Any court you go, I will face you, because you abused that office you are in. The office that you occupied, you abused it 1,000 times. Ghana Nyankano Krintra. When you speak, it chucks people like us. When we give the opportunity to speak, it chucks people like me. The arrogance in your language, the entitlement syndrome, that thing where you think that everybody is a fool, you are the most intelligent person. Intelligent, smart, lawyer. Later you got to know this guy is a drug addict. And you people have gone through the mill with this kind of entitlement to this point. You still don't want to shut up and quell your ass and sit down. You still want to derail this country. If you have a problem with this process, go to the review committee and tell them that they should review it. If you make sense there with facts, they will review it. The nonsense must stop. Today, I can tell you on authority, you are part of the pin brain old people in Ghana. You speak out of emotions. You don't speak out of facts. There's nothing that shows that you were a former legal brain. Stop this, your comedy. We are tired of you.